Good evening, everyone. I am Ki. What I want to tell you this time is the amazingness of the rotary engine made by Mazda. Substantially, the rotary is an engine that is only made by Mazda. Last year, a new rotary engine of Mazda was announced. What makes Mazda's rotary engine so great is the people who created it and nurtured it. It was completed as a mass-produced product without almost no reference materials. The rotary engine was invented by Dr. Wankel of Germany in the 1950s. The patent of the RE was obtained by the NSU in German company. At this time, ordinary reciprocating engines already had a history of more than 50 years. On the other hand, the rotary engine of Mazda in Japan was just in its infancy. One day in the 1950s, Mazda's president at the time, Mr. Matsuda Tsuneji, received a call from Germany. The information was that NSU has successfully developed a rotary engine. Rumors about the rotary engine had even reached Mr. Matsuda's ears. A typical engine converts reciprocating motion into rotary motion. In contrast, the rotary engine was said to be a dream engine that produced direct rotational motion through the conversion of fuel and was highly efficient with little vibration. The President Matsuda at this time was worried, because there was a possibility that a certain request would be made by the government. On this time, Japan has recovered from its defeat in the war and is about to enter a period of high economic growth. It was a well-known fact that the era of automobile was coming, thanks in part to the technology cultivated in fighter aircraft. There were already more than 10 automobile manufacturers in Japan. Therefore, the government was attempting to classify automobile manufacturers into passenger cars, light vehicles, trucks, etc., and request that they be consolidated into 2 or 3 companies in each field. Perhaps because of this, the companies Nissan and Prince had just merged. There are always people who will be removed in merges and integrations. President Matsuda was extremely concerned about it. In order for Mazda to survive on its own, it needed overwhelming uniqueness. In such a situation, he heard that the German company NSU had succeeded in developing a rotary engine. Immediately, he tries to make an appointment with the NSU company. However, at first, as the Japanese three-wheel truck manufacturer, Toyo Kogyo was turned away. So Mr. Matsuda takes an extraordinary action. He used the then Prime Minister, the President of the main bank, the German ambassador to Japan, and others to contact NSU. What's more, the letter he sent to NSU at that time was so outrageous that it is still a legend among former NSU employees who knew about that time. They were somehow allowed to attend the technology presentation and immediately test drove a rotary engine car developed by NSU. In fact, the car has good acceleration and was very smooth. I want to be able to use this technology at Earth. However, The content of the technical partnership proposed there was not entirely acceptable. The price of the patent and technology partnership was 280 million yen, equivalent to the annual salaries of 8,000 employees. Salary of all employees. He signed the contract considering for the future of his employees. Mr. Matsuda returned to Japan with great determination, compassion for his employees, and little hope, and immediately had a car built using NSU's rotary engine. The technical team ran the prototype vehicle with high expectations, but it was completely useless. Acceleration and high speed of the prototype was certainly smooth. However, there was a lot of vibration at low speed. And more, the car gave off a lot of white smoke. Both gasoline and oil were undergoing incomplete combustion. Engineers carefully took apart the engine. It was full of scratchings inside. The devil's claw marks, which could be said to be the culprit behind everything, were carved inside the engine. There were many opinions about President Matsuda from within the company. What should we do with such a useless engine? But President Matsuda Tsuneji had a secret plan. I'm sure that guy can do something about it. That guy was Yamamoto Kenichi. Mr. Kenichi Yamamoto was an airplane designer in Ibaraki. The end of the war will soon come. He learns that an atomic bomb was dropped on his hometown of Hiroshima and that his family was killed. Also, Japan was prevented from developing airplanes by the victorious nation, the United States. Mr. Yamamoto is no longer able to build airplanes, but he receives a letter from Hiroshima. It was a letter from his mother. Mr. Yamamoto hurries back to Hiroshima. He knew the death of his beloved sister and witnessed the devastation of Hiroshima. He spent his days drinking around. One day, his mother introduces him to a job at Toyo Kogyo. Toyo Kogyo is the predecessor of Mazda. He vehemently argued, I was designing airplanes, so I should be assigned to the design department. However, he was not assigned to the design department, and his first assignment was to a three-wheel truck manufacturing site. He said, "This is not the right place for me." And he often got into fights with people on the manufacturing floor. Even after work, he kept saying similar stories at bars and got into fights with other customers every day. However, he notices something. There were people working hard in Hiroshima. The faces of those people seemed to believe in the reconstruction of Hiroshima. They used the three-wheel truck that he built every day They are driving around Hiroshima with trucks filled with reconstruction materials. What am I doing? Since then, he has changed. He worked hard at the manufacturing site, even after work studied in the design department. In recognition of his efforts, he was assigned to the design department. Eventually, he becomes the person in charge of designing Mazda's first four-wheeled passenger car, the R360. The R360 has an amazingly low price of 300,000 yen and is the driving force behind Japan's private car culture. President Tsuneji Matsuda thought, Yamamoto is the only person who can develop a rotary engine. The R360 had an automatic transmission edition, which was rare at the time. President Matsuda hoped that Mazda would continue to make cars that were friendly to everyone. The rotary engine provided to Mazda by Germany's NSU was completely useless. The engine was emitting white smoke and was covered in scratches. NSU's argument was, we just need to work together to solve the problems. Some people thought they had been forced to buy the unestablished technology for 280 million yen. This is the reason why NSU does not mass-produce rotary engine. Initially, Kenichi Yamamoto distanced himself from the development of the rotary engine. Mr. Yamamoto developed the R360 and Familia and was establishing himself as the top engineer within the company. One day, Mr. Yamamoto suddenly received a notice asking him to become the leader of the rotary engine research department. Rumors were already spreading throughout the company that rotary engines were no longer viable, and this announcement came as a surprise to many people, including Mr. Yamamoto himself. Some people said Yamamoto has been demoted. For this reason, Mr. Yamamoto disliked the signboard that read Rotary Engine Research Department. However, it was none other than President Matsuda who made Mr. Yamamoto the development leader. So Mr. Yamamoto begins by gathering research members. But the more experienced people were negative for rotary engine. On the contrary, younger people were more active. Their eyes were shining with the new technology of the rotary engine. The members gathered were 47 young people with an average age of 25 years old. The birth of Rotary 47. The 47 Rotary engineers, the Rotary engine development team led by Kenichi Yamamoto, were worried. Because the inside of a rotary engine gets more and more damaged the more it is driven. They called this the Devil's Claw. A rotary engine rotates with a rotor shaped like a guitar pick. There were parts called apex seals attached to the three vertices. The devil's claw marks will not disappear unless this apex seal that contacts the rotor housing is improved. However, no matter how many times they repeat the experiment, it didn't work. At such a difficult time, Mr. Yamamoto received certain instructions from President Matsuda. The cooperation of component manufacturers is essential for the development of rotary engines. So I would like all the companies to gather together and hold a conference. Why in this busy time? That seems to be what Mr. Yamamoto thought too. At that time, there was a Mazda State's guest house in Miyajima, Hiroshima. President Matsuda said this at a meeting held there. I'm betting on the rotary engine. We need your cooperation to win this battle. We have worked with everyone to rebuild Hiroshima, which was a burnout area, with all more might. We have to stand up again. Mr. Yamamoto said he thought it was a message for himself. He believed that the rotary engine could save Toyo Kogyo and Hiroshima. Mr. Yamamoto was determined to make the rotary engine a success, but the inside of the engine was full of scratches. They tried different materials and combinations to improve the apex seal. Just as they were thinking it was no good, one young engineer spoke. Maybe it's not the material is at fault. I think so the vibration characteristics caused by the structure of parts. When Mr. Yamamoto heard this, he had an idea. Since the surface cannot be changed, they invented the new apex seal having the cross-hollow structure. They immediately built and tested engines using this new apex seal. 100 hours, 200 hours, 300 hours. The rotary engine, which previously could not run for 200 hours, now runs for over 300 hours. To see the housing walls, they stopped testing and disassembled the engine. The devil's claw marks were gone, and the surface of the engine was green. Because the cross-hollow structure changed the vibration characteristics and alleviated the impact on the engine wall. While they may be happy that they have finally exterminated the devil's claws, they start to worry, wondering how far NSU has progressed. Mr. Yamamoto said, "Let's go to Germany with this engine." NSU members were worried when they saw the intact engine. We might lose. Do you know about the Apollo program? The Apollo program was the first manned spaceflight program by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It was carried out from 1961 to 1972, and a total of 6 manned moon landings were successful. The Apollo program was the first time humans reached a celestial body other than Earth. In other words, the 1960s was the era when humans went to the moon. Therefore, for people at that time, space was a symbol of dreams. At that time, there were people fighting to create a rotary engine car, something no one has ever achieved before. Matsuda Tsuneji, president of Toyo Kogyo, said this to car designers. Make it the coolest, fastest car in the world that everyone admires. It's a Mazda car, so Japanese people should be creative. Mr. Heiji Kobayashi was one of these creators. He was the kind of person who would take time off from work to research foreign cars and go to movie theaters in Tokyo to watch American and European movies. After seeing one of Kobayashi's sketches, President Matsuda decided to go with it. Mr. Matsuda said, "It's time for people to go to space. Let's name the new car Cosmosports." When the design was decided and a full-size clay model of the new car was made, President Matsuda said, "Let's introduce this Cosmosports at the 1964 Tokyo Motor Show." The Cosmosports, which was exhibited as a reference at the motor show, attracted attention with its rotary engine and dreamlike design. However, the rotary engine did not solve all problems. Even after getting rid of the Devil's Claw marks, the rotary engine prototype car continued to run, emitting white smoke. 47 engineers knew the oil seal was bad. The oil that came out from the gap was incompletely burned. Rubber is usually used to prevent something from leaking. Everyone thought that the inside of any engine would be so hot that the rubber would melt. Mr. Yasuo Tatsutomi suggested using rubber with an inverted idea. He eliminated the white smoke on oil rigs by thinking that the inside of the engine was not hot enough to melt the rubber. At this point, 47 engineers wanted to say that the rotary engine was complete, but the apex seal that had removed the Devil's Claw marks was not yet durable enough to last more than 100,000 kilometers. In the 1960s, Mazda's rotary 47 engineers were fighting. Although they had defeated the Devil's Claw marks and the Devil of White Smoke, the apex seal had not achieved the performance of running over 100,000 kilometers. The warehouse was full of failed products that could not be stored. However, failure is the basis of success. When Mr. Jun Miyata, a materials expert, looked at the overflowing prototypes side by side, he noticed that even with the same combination of materials, the changes over time vary depending on the ratio and the synthesis method. Without realizing it, they had found the most durable combination. Apex C has been made possible to travel over 100,000 kilometers with the optical combination. The rotary engine has been completed. Even if they say it loud, it is something that is incomprehensible compared to other reciprocating engines with a history of over 50 years. In some cases, people may say, a rotary engine was really a dream after all. Therefore, present Mazda implements a secret plan. The idea was to take pre-sale cars to dealers across the country and test them for a year. Mr. Yamamoto, the development leader, laughed when he heard this, but inside he was worried. Both President Matsuda and Mr. Yamamoto knew that if they failed, the rotary engine would also disappear. Japan has 4 seasons and the weather conditions differ in each region. In other words, they put the rotary engine through the toughest final test. Toyo Kogyo has accumulated a huge amount of data from 60 prototype vehicles across the country, and based on this information, they have manufactured a commercial model. Finally, in 1967, the Cosmo Sports equipped with the rotary engine made its debut. It was exported not only to Japan but all over the world and was praised as the miracle of Hiroshima. In 1970, President Matsuda Tsuneji passed away after witnessing the success of the rotary engine. He was 74 years old. He is resting in a place overlooking Hiroshima. After that, Mazda's battle with rotary engines continued. In 1991, won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. In 2024, there are many people who think that the very existence of the engine is at risk. Now of the age of EV, Mazda's rotary engine has made a comeback. I don't think it's a mistake to choose something that is easy to understand, something new, and something that is efficient. However, there are people who continue to fight in various places, believing that this technology can still be used. I love that kind of thing. Thank you for watching. Channel registration and high ratings. I would be happy if you could watch another video. See you soon!